What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today we're jumping into some more maximum security. This time we are going to be going through it with Brass, the new character, and Dobbin's wife. So I found out that the skin that I wanted is in the Grand Vanity chest, and I don't have a ton of those, which means I probably should have started putting the referral link for this game in my YouTube videos a while ago, because they would actually have probably gotten me some chests by now. But either way, I think there's like 30 items left for me to get in there. But the more of them I get, the closer I get to getting that chest. So this is the same deck that I have used with Elan, because of the fact that Brass needs to play super close range. Bear Hugs is actually a good choice for her rather than Feeling Fierce. And if I don't want to worry about Big Spender or making it rain, instead what I could do, and what I should probably do, is I should definitely have Fire Sale. And she actually would benefit greatly from some lifesteal if you don't want to bring things that replenish your life. Geez, I have no idea why it took me so long to remember what I was trying to say there. But as Brass is a character that doesn't have a traditional mana system, any gear that you have that has a mana cost is going to eat up some of her scrap. This means that the increased scrap pickup weaver sort of benefits you needing to do less work to upgrade your turret and to also feed your gear. But because the main thing that's missing from her kit is sort of life replenishing ability, and that's just about it. She's always going to have to play close, so the Firewall Bracers or Ring of Storms is a pretty good choice. The Firewall Bracers probably just because you want to deal some decent AoE damage, and she's probably going to be close to stuff anyway. The Ring of Storms is okay, but this is probably going to be better because dealing damage to multiple enemies isn't really difficult for her, and I'll try to show why when I get in here. So let's go ahead and get this started.
Super sweet tiny girl dwarf power.
Indeed. So again, you can. Oop, I didn't mean to use that one.
Need to find some scrap.
So you can see on the scrap bar, the Firewall Bracers cost about 8 scrap, and it's down from their normal cost of 20, and that means that the conversion for her scrap to mana is about a fifth, because they normally cost about 20 mana, and the Ring of Storms, which normally costs about 50, costs 20. So that's a lot of scrap for her. That's like 2 pickups normally. I feel like her Brass Bomb Cache Weaver is actually a lot stronger than I would have initially expected, and because of that, it makes the Thrifty Scrapper Weaver not quite as desirable as I would like it to be personally. I would probably like to see that doubled, and here's the thing. Just going to talk about this real quick. I like to collect my thoughts before I actually put together the full overview videos, but you'll probably hear some of it again later on. But if you double the Thrifty Scrapper Weaver, most people might think that it's equivalent to the Brass Bomb Cache. However, you still have a max scrap of 100. So while you only need 5 pickups to max out, you can only hold 5 bombs effectively. Now, because of things like the turret requiring time to level up, having collected the scrap quicker doesn't offer you that much of a benefit. So you're not going to really see a lot of situations where it's just super better to pick anything other than either the turret health if enemies are dealing a ton of damage, or the brass bomb cache. The brass bomb cache is probably going to be my pick most of the time though. And I'll see if I can show you why.
I'm anger and spikes and
The
everything
right
not
setup for
nice.
most combos. Another genius setup.
Okay, I think that's mostly it for what I'm going to do here now. Let's get this started.
I'm just here for the execution. There's gonna be an
Enemy has
execution,
opened
right?
a minion portal.
Also, I think I figured out why that extra floating health bar was there from the turret. I think what happens is the health bar from the turret, when it gets upgraded, is sort of remembered by the area, and that's sort of why it stayed there. So you kind of want to kite enemies while you're just holding down Q to smack them with the wrench. Now you kind of just want to get as much of this scrap accumulated as you can. Make sure we lob a cannonball over those guys. And when we get the chance... Oop, okay. Now we got lucky there because we got some health just sitting there for us. And as far as for upgrades, you actually have... Oh, I'm out of scrap. Alright. I'm like, why is he not dead yet? Oh. Yeah, that blunderbuss cooldown is heavy. Alright, but you can see I have all this scrap sort of built up and waiting for me here. I can just run through it, grab it all at once, and then come back here to make sure that this turret is up to where it needs to be.
That'll fix ya. Watch out! An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and
Alright.
destroy it.
While I got time. So you can place those really quick. I'm going to take the brass bomb cache to reduce the cost. Probably should have did that before I dropped all of those. But this is how strong the blunderbuss is. Almost immediately destroyed that. For whatever reason, it looks like the wrench cannot hit
The unstable rift has been destroyed.
unstable rifts. And I don't think that's intended. Usually any damaging ability can hit them. So I would think that that is some sort of defect or error, and I will bring that to the devs' attention as soon as I'm done this match. So me fighting so close to this, especially with the Guardian right there, is going to cause that to take a lot of damage. We don't want that.
Right there.
So I'm going to place a couple of these
This'll be useful.
here, and then we're going to move over to the next area.
They come right through here. Wait till they come through here.
Okay, so initially most of these enemies are not going to actually path down that area, so
Maybe one over here.
we want to stop them from getting through here. You can have, actually I can move that up about half space. As long as it does not touch these, they won't get disabled. So that should actually be good. I want to add some Spitfires here in a little bit once things open up. But I think the Guardian and the Ballista and the Floor Scorchers should handle the left side. Even with the changes that they made here, they are still super strong. And because heavy enemies can't see us or attack us, we can sort of just do whatever we want. Oh gosh. Alright, so this guy's a problem. He also doesn't survive very well against Brass's super heavy attacks. So
Our barricades are under attack.
that's bad. We can just basically use heavy enemies to farm scrap. And the difference between the damage of her wrench attack and the blunderbuss is insane.
Our barricades are under attack.
Oh, so that's what that was. Okay, so essentially what that's telling me is
Another genius setup.
Leave a few of those there to make sure that bosses and archers don't really get too close. We're going to come through here, and we're basically going to make this entire area just scream, I hate enemies. I don't really need any extra damage for them. They still have to make their way across that area. See, like, she handles small enemies better just spamming mines than she does with just about any other tactic. Which for me seems a bit scary. Okay, that barricade being destroyed is kind of bad. It means enemies won't path correctly for the floor scorchers, but they will probably just kind of run into the Guardian, which is great.
The right setup, the most combos.
Alright, so here the choice seems to be whether or not you want to do the scrap pile thing.
Each trap to be placed perfectly. Another
They've broken through a gate.
To increase the maximum amount of scrap you hold, which is amazing because
The enemy's boss is down.
that's pretty much why. Or you can get the stunning cannonball, which turns this into a high damage attack. Now, because your burst damage potential for groups is pretty much predicated on the amount of scrap that you currently have, for most situations, I'm actually going to think scrap pile is better. If you're in a multiplayer situation where your damage is reduced, then you're probably going to want to consider the stun, the cannonball, because the stun there is actually really nice. The cannonball has a 4-second cooldown, and I believe it goes to 2 seconds if you get the tier 4 weaver. So basically, enemies have like 1-second breaks between being stunned, which again, really good.
This'll be good.
So I'm going for scrap pile right now.
Exactly.
Okay, can we
Right there.
basically scare away all of the bosses ever? So these guys initially
Destroy it.
are not heavy, so they will attack me. They're kind of dangerous. Boss probably got wrecked already. No, there he is.
The boss minion is down.
Yeah, he's dead now though. So I'm just gonna kind of bomb my way over here. And we're gonna cannonball this guy.
Destroy the unstable rift.
Lovely. Now I need to come back over here and sort of rebuild that. And I think for the most part that's it. They're gonna go over there and die. I'm okay with that. Oh, it sucks to be them. So versus grouped up enemies that are not heavy, what you're probably gonna want to do most often is just kind of jump over them. That center area was explosive crossbow guys. If you were there, you would probably die. She has very low HP for anybody, like extremely low. She's not as hardy as Dobbin. I think she actually has one of the lowest HP pools in the game currently. But, you know, that kind of gets made up for by Mr. Turret. So, the turret does not have a ton of damage output by default. The 50% damage bonus there is not bad though, because the turret is sort of, it can put out a very constant source of damage if you do choose to do that. You can choose to increase the bomb damage. That's definitely a good choice. For ease of use, you can also use the scrap boom. It's like a scrap vacuum. Pretty sure that's where the name came from. But those, oh gosh. I'm gonna go with the scrap boom just because I don't really need the extra damage. And that allows me to basically pick up scrap without having to be directly near it. That helps with a lot of the micromanaging of the character's movements throughout the course of a match. And you can see how little damage you do at range with her just because of how many of your attacks are missing. Even up close, when enemies are heavily grouped, if you don't have like a, yeah, you can't hit them from that far away. Just gonna have to let the traps do their thing. Not having to micromanage her movements to pick up scrap is going to give you a bit of extra time to focus on doing damage, and it also means that when you wrench somebody, you immediately get the scrap from them, which is a lovely, lovely thing.
Quick, destroy it. An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed.
Alright, so the heavy enemies won't bother me at all. Actually, does this? Okay, so that's definitely a bug. It looks like none of her non-weapon abilities can damage the unstable rifts, and that should not be the case. Alright, y'all gonna have to deal with these. Not a problem at all. Alright, so Tier 4. Tier 4 is always an interesting space for weavers for me, because if the character has really game-changing weavers, they're usually here. Some characters like Elin really don't have anything that makes a huge difference here, but with Brass, we have Cannonball coming, which is a halving of the cooldown that she has for her Cannonball, which is one of her most powerful abilities, especially if you use it often. If Dave just said like the firing animation took half as long, I would be pretty much always choosing that, but that's just a personal gripe of mine. They have Junkyard, which increases, well, it gives you a scrap generation per second. Basically gives her mana regen. Now, you have to realize that most characters have about 2 mana regen per second normally. Because Brass has a mana conversion mechanic, because she doesn't have traditional mana, that equates, that one scrap equates to about 4 mana. So that's actually not bad, especially since it powers... Whew, the Blunderbuss is strong, because it powers both mana and her bombs. Now, if you have the bombs and you get the scrap generation, it is a really nice combo, but cannonballs cost nothing, and generally you only need the health gain from this if you are in a team and somebody else is benefiting from it, or you have no healing items. That is not the case right now, so we're going with the cannonball. Besides, cannonballs every 2 seconds are ridiculous. Like, it basically makes it so that there is no reason to primary attack with it, because you can cannonball.
Our barricades are under attack.
You can cannonball pretty much non-stop. And at the same time, you can just sort of do other things without this sort of wonky, can't do anything else reload animation getting in the way. And I think that's the real tragedy of like this cool animation here, is that it can't be canceled. And like, I'm not sure if... I would definitely like it to be cancelable. Like, I mean, they don't have to shorten it, because if they just shorten the animation, it makes the primary attack too powerful and it needs to be nerfed. If they nerf the damage on the attack, it's just not as good. And all that just for it to be cancelable really isn't worth it. Plus, like, because of the constraint to the attack normally already, it's just really not that big a deal to just use everything except it. But that is really where the conundrum comes in. Why would you have an attack that has such a long delay between firing, and with it locking down you from being able to use your other abilities, that it becomes at some point not beneficial to use it? There's the scrap boom going.
Watch out! An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and destroy it.
Okay, so that unstable rift is over here. So because I had the big game hunting ballistas over here, the BGHs, they're kind of just attacking this, but they seem to be not damaging it.
Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
That's really weird. I wonder if there's a bug introduced with the unstable rifts here now. What? Oh, wow, something actually got through. Okay. Wait, why is... Oh, okay, because the rift took point damage, the timer disappeared. Alright, so...
The boss minion! The boss minion has been taken down! A boss is on its way!
Nice.
Boss minion defeated!
Alright, so that's it for them. Why is there still an HP amount?
Our traps the enemy's boss is dead!
Okay, traps being disabled. I'm okay with that, really. I think that was a late call out, though.
My old prospector would be so proud.
And there we go. So you should have noticed the hole in defenses there where the enemy got through between the floor scorchers and the arrows. And that's important because the ceiling ballistas. That's important because during this particular patch, the 2.6 patch, what was changed is that not the non-BGH ceiling ballistas, the ceiling ballista and the dragon lance. Well, just the ceiling ballista and the dragon lance, not the BGH that was left alone. But those two ballista had some changes made to them so that they deal more initial damage and they fire less often. The overall damage per second of the trap should have remained constant, but they're not as good at picking off multiple enemies. At the same time, the floor scorcher had its fire rate decreased because it was too powerful of a fire trap, which was true. It was the best fire trap hands down, and things like the brimstone and the firecracker really just weren't holding up. So I'll probably rethink the deck that I use for maximum security to try to patch those holes and see how some of the other traps perform now that there have been these tweaks. But the ballista specifically work much better as a counter to heavy units now. See if they actually update damage numbers. I think so. I think they were about 140 before. Now they're up to 185. They were at 5 seconds before, and they're now at 6. And I think back when I first started using these early in the game, these had like a base fire rate of 4 seconds. And then you have the Dragon Lances, which were normally at about 70, no, they were at 85 damage. It was either 75 or 85. And now their base damage is at 100. But instead of firing every 4 seconds, it's 6 seconds. So yeah, like ballistas are dealing more damage individually, but not firing as often. Now they've probably made some other changes to traps that I can't remember off the top of my head, but those are kind of the big ones. And well, mainly because those traps were used by a lot of people, and I definitely overused the crap out of them. But you know, maybe you guys will get to see me try some more trap setups. Let's go ahead and crack these open. Nice. And there we go again. Okay. Also, with the changing of the traps and the changing of a lot of the parts, which I think I have pretty much all the parts now. I have the heat activated trigger. Yeah, I have like 1 or 2. So yeah, that's good. I can actually talk about more of the parts in the future, and that'll be nice too. One suggestion that I would probably have for this window here specifically is for traps that currently feature a part once selected, if you could just highlight it so that it has like a little glow around it or something similar, like not the white one when you're hovering over it with your mouse, but maybe like a red or a yellow to show that the part is in there. That would be nice. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. I'll do parts in another video because, as usual, when I talk about the cards in the game and everything that you can select, there's usually a lot of details that you want to go into, and you know, they can get a bit lengthy. And this is already nearing 30 minutes. But thanks as always, guys, for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed, you know, this little brass extravaganza. And she is super fun to play, especially when you're just tossing mines all over the place. So you'll definitely see more of her. I need to do a bit more with Elin too, so I can get a better grasp of her as a character. But that'll be coming another time. Until then, as always, have a good one, folks.